High Voltage is here for a little while longer. You're going to want to make sure you battle through it to get your free copy of the first Ghost Rider. This card is going to be especially important if you're going to be picking up Khonshu on Tuesday, as it's a key enabler for him. Let's go ahead and dive on into a number of deck lists that have been absolutely dominating High Voltage by the numbers on the Untapped tracker so far. One of the highest win rate decks on Untapped for High Voltage right now is variations of this Patriot Ultron deck list. You get some combination of Patriot, Khazar, and Blue Marvel into play. You slam down Ultron and make bots all across the board, and you have a pretty good chance of picking up a couple of location wins. This particular deck list is also playing some of the individual highest quality cards in this game mode. Ebony Maw is a staple in most deck lists, since its downside is non-existent in a 3-turn game mode. Baron Zemo likewise is really good because most deck lists have Ebony Maw in it, so Baron Zemo ends up being a 3/12 in a lot of your games. This deck list finds room to fit Cosmo in it as well, a key bit of counterplay into a lot of the on-reveal decks that are being successful right now that we'll be covering momentarily. I think a lot of the higher series cards in this deck list are pretty replaceable. Copycat's just a generically good 3 energy card, and Iron Patriot often isn't even going to have time to trigger his cost reduction since the game ends up being so quick in High Voltage. It put an absolutely massive smile on my face to see classic Sauron Shuri, a deck straight out of 2022 Marvel Snap, putting up absolutely stellar results inside of High Voltage. This deck list is just good, clean, honest, big numbers. You slam your Shuri, you slam your big statted card in one spot, you Taskmaster it in another, and you're often ended up winning the game. This deck list has some tricky things as well to help you dodge tech cards. If you play Shuri on that first turn of the game, or even the second turn with leftover extra energy, you get a discounted She-Hulk going into the next turn to then play her into the Shuri path and Taskmaster something else for a surprise burst of 40. This archetype gets to play armor as a way to counter opposing Shang-Chi's, and Enchantress is probably key in a lot of its game wins as well. Not only does Enchantress wipe the detrimental effects off of things like Typhoid Mary and Red Skull for us, but there's a lot of ongoing cards in High Voltage as well, so she's a card that not only benefits us, but also is detrimental to a number of the opponents you're going to play into as well. The Spectrum ongoing deck with a small number of modifications is also an excellent choice for this game mode. As we mentioned earlier, Cosmo is an excellent tech card into your opponents that also gets to share in that ongoing buff from Spectrum. Ravonna Renslayer, as well as Sarah in tandem with Mystique and Moonstone, allows this deck to set up an absolutely massive flurry of stats spread out across the board on the third turn of the game, making it difficult for your opponent to predict exactly what you're going to be doing and where. Ebony Maw also happens to be a really efficient ongoing card, so it's a 1/9 effectively in the games where you're slamming Spectrum in that final moment. Another classic archetype putting up awesome stats in High Voltage so far is this Black Knight Infinite She-Hulk amalgamation. I like this deck's 2 very distinct game plans that utilize some overlapping cards to put massive numbers into play very quickly. You can go ahead and use Black Knight and Ghost Rider alongside with Lady Sif and Blade to bin Giganto or Infinite to put out a pair of 20 plus points in those final moments of the game. But you can also just pass even on turn 1, because you often have 6 energy on turn 2 to play She-Hulk and Infinite out, giving you free reign to slam even more points on turn 6, or even protect the big threats you just put out with a Cosmo if your opponent tries to get cheeky and Shang-Chi something. As far as higher series cards go, Makari is here simply only to make your hand size a little bit smaller for Blade, Black Knight being the only must-have card since it's so key for us to get numbers so consistently with this core. Namora Wong is an archetype that fell out of favor in regular Marvel Snap a long time ago, but this game mode's ability to give you big bursts of energy on the second to last and final turn of the game allows you to leverage the pile of expensive cards here really efficiently. It lets you often set up playing Wong and something like White Tiger or Namora in the same turn, letting you get some value out of your combo setup, even if your opponent has something like a Red Guardian or a Cosmo on the following turn to shut it down too late. I really like this deck's ability to shuffle its points around, getting Nomura bonuses on things like Nightcrawler and Jeff, and then following up with a White Tiger to spread cats across the board will often leave your opponent guessing, are you going to be going even taller with Odin or going wide and putting points absolutely everywhere. I like this deck's flexible range of things to combo with Wong as well. Not only do you have Nomura to go big in the other two paths, but you have Sage to go big on the Wong path itself, and even Ironheart to spread things out in a way that's very unpredictable. One piece of anti-tech worth calling out here is that your copy of Echo is an anti-Cosmo card, so whenever possible, you're going to want to set up Wong in the same path as her. Continuing on the trend of hyperlinear decks that are finding success in high voltage so far, Mr. Negative is an excellent candidate. 50% of the time, you're going to be able to play him out on the first turn of the game when you get to draw 4 inverted cards before you're done. In the absolute nuts draw, you go negative on 1 into Jane Foster on 2, and then you're going to have this insane turn 3 with all of your inverted cards that basically nothing else in the format is going to be able to keep up with. The last hyperlinear deck I wanted to cover today is this really awesome Symbiote Spider-Man Nimrod Black Panther Destroy amalgamation. This deck list is another that has 2 very distinct plans that can make massive numbers in different ways. You can just 1, 2, 3 card combo Symbiote Spider-Man into Black Panther into Arnim Zola, blow 2 massive cats across the board, but we also have Phoenix Force who can act as a way to bring Black Panther back either from our Arnim Zola or an opponent Shang-Chi, as well as a Nimrod game plan, which works really well with Shuri, and then things like Venom and Carnage getting to go ahead and move that all around the board. If you like a deck list that's capable of making big numbers in lots of different ways, this one looks like an excellent one to be doing that with in high voltage. If you're looking to be a little bit more interactive and high voltage, Silver Surfer is an excellent candidate for that. The 25% of the time you're able to put Sarah into play on the very first turn, your opponent's going to have a really hard time keeping up between Killmonger, running down Ultron bots, Red Guardian, tagging Wongs, then lots of other various tech cards like Luke Cage, even Juggernaut that you can substitute in here to tune to your heart's content. This archetype has lots of ways to both go tall with Sebastian Shaw and Brood, as well as bricking over whatever your opponent is trying desperately to set up on the other side of the board. Next up, we have a Wiccan control variation. Similar to Mr. Negative, 50% of the time you're going to be able to play your Wiccan out on the first turn of the game, giving you extra energy for those second 2 turns. But Wiccan decks are often just set up ready to make big plays over the course of the game, meaning in high voltage where you're almost always having lots of energy, you're still pretty well set up, even in the games where Wiccan is nowhere to be found. This deck list is playing potent disruptive cards, Red Guardian, Warhead, and Juggernaut, alongside just some of the most efficient things you can be doing in high voltage with Ebony Maw and Baron Zemo. I also love the inclusion of Mirage in this deck list. That way you can have a 1/9 Ebony Maw drawn out of your opponent's hand in the games where she shows up nice and early for you. I also think Gore is an excellent piece of top end here because not only is this deck full of on reveals, but a lot of other decks in this game mode are as well, making him an absolutely massive 6 energy card on average. Our last control variation today is actually just card for card one of the regular Marvel Snap decks I covered in the video on Friday with those. It doesn't really surprise me. This deck's just a bunch of generically good cards. You've got interactive bits with Shang-Chi and Mobius, then just good ways to spread stats across the board with Miss Marvel and Doctor Doom. I'd honestly be a little bit surprised if this deck list is actually optimal for this game mode, but I also think that's one of the upsides of this mode being fairly casual. If you're playing anything even relatively cohesive and you're playing it well and you're enjoying what you're doing, you're probably going to find plenty of success with it. Finally, I wanted to close things out with my own personal favorite deck I've been playing in this game mode, a Victoria Hand Moon Girl Moonstone variation featuring Ravonna Renslayer to discount our things and give us big flurries on the last turn of the game. While it doesn't have a high sample size or win rate on Untapped as of yet, it's just playing a bunch of my personally favorite cards, which I think is one of the best things you can be doing in this game mode. Something that's really important to remember about high voltage is that the amount of points that you're getting for actually winning games is pretty nominal. So long as you're optimizing the decks that you're playing to complete the missions that you get every 8 hours, that's the key. You want to be completing the 875 points from those 3 times per day in order to maximize the amount of rewards that you are getting. And doing that also often lets you maximize your fun, which is what this game mode and any game you should be playing should ultimately be about. What have you been enjoying slamming in high voltage? I would love to hear in the comments down below. If you enjoyed my roundup today, please smash that like button. And if you enjoy deckless roundups like this one and you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any in the future. I appreciate all the folks that made it all the way through to the end of the video, and I hope you hit whatever your high voltage goals are and have a ton of fun while doing it.